Hey, Joseph.
We're here, baby. I finally made it. We're live.
We're live, man. First episode.
That's right. Well, dude, yeah, it's 8:22 p.m. Pacific Standard Time coming from the West Coast. Great. I think you mentioned before you had a couple questions. Yeah, I was down to do some intros and get some people that are interested with our background and what's going on for just today's video.
Let's learn more about you, Joseph. Why CUDI? What problem does it solve? Anything you want to talk about, high level stuff. So,
Yeah. No, absolutely. So I'm a commercial banker, community banker by day, and then basically a founder, entrepreneur at night. And the whole idea or premise with Cuddy is it revolves around the commercial lending space for small business. Our ICP or ideal client profile is going to be, any bank or credit union under 10 billion in assets. And so the best way to describe it is, what TurboTax is for people preparing their personal tax returns is what Cuddy is to commercial lending, where it basically streamlines and automates the process, via guided Q&A. It'll be AI assistive. It's a greenfield type technology, and so it will be new. Um, AI in credit underwriting isn't new. A lot of your major banks are doing it. I've read somewhere where JP Morgan is going to be shifting to use AI for their underwriting. I think for to 80% of their credit underwriting. Don't quote me on that. But so I think there's a need. And I think the overall goal is to empower smaller banks to compete at scale, right? And kind of move with big bank efficiency. Because with community banks, they don't have as stout of a tech stack. A lot of stuff is still manual. Any business, whether you're in insurance or any professional type service, finance and lending. Anytime you have a ton of like unstructured data in whatever industry, and you're trying to put it into structured data or extrapolate, information from documents you collect and put it into whatever your internal form is in an organized way via AI. I think really any desk job, can either be call it replaced or you can reduce headcount. And to circle back to your initial question, why Cuddy? It's simple. It saves time and money. Obviously, time is linear, so it saves a lot of time, which translates to saving money. And then as far as the saving money part, yeah, it can streamline efficiency. And junior analysts that first get into banking, they may start off, especially in the commercial lending or community banking space, they may start off as maybe a credit analyst. And so those roles are typically filled. They are typically in that seat for anywhere from a year and a half, 2 years to 3 years, maybe four. Some folks you can make a career out of it, but there's a lot of training and investment that goes on to those seats that get filled, and all the under trainings that go along with it. And so, after 2 years, you kind of have to repeat the process. So, having some kind of assistive AI platform, that's going to reduce some of that training. That's kind of the why, and that's kind of where we're at. And as of right now, we'll see. But that's it in a nutshell. I've been in banking for it'll be 10 years next month in the commercial banking space, mainly with community banks. And so that's my background. I'm from a Central Valley native. I went to CSU Stanislaus, got my undergrad in ag econ, and then I got my MBA in 2017. So a little bit of ag background, a little bit of finance background. That's pretty much what's on my resume. So
in my space, where I work, right, it's like the feeling is if you don't use AI, you just get left behind. Is
oh
there
yeah.
a similar feeling in the finance industry or even in just banking?
Yeah, I mean, I think not only in banking, but across many industries, you kind of have, probably three main buckets or three camps, if you will. You can probably distill it down to two. But, folks who are completely for it, aggressively advocating for it, trying to implement it in their business, whether it be in finance or whatever industry. So you have your strong champions for AI in general. Then you have some people that may use a little bit of ChatGPT, whatever, and dabble in it a little bit. Um, Maybe more neutral, not I wouldn't say agnostic, but they're for it, but they're still kind of learning, about it. And then you have folks who are just don't know anything about it, or you know, kind of adverse when it comes to AI, which is mind-boggling to me. But yeah, there's some companies who like to remain traditional. I won't name any, but yeah, they're less inclined to get involved with AI. So, but I think the bigger banks are going to lead the charge in what they're going to do in terms of innovation and incorporate as much AI as possible. I know with job growth, when it comes to obviously tech and finance, we're seeing numbers that in terms of growth in those sectors, it's not growing as fast as you would see in healthcare and education, and a little bit in the hospitality and retail side. So I think those growth numbers are probably going to get slimmer over time. I guess the question is linking the domain name with the code that's been, generated and created. I'm sure it's an easy question for you, but I'm sure I can look it up. But while I have you, yeah, I'm curious, how do you kind of bridge that gap?
Yeah, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna get a place where you can host your website. So let's say that the first box here to my left is your laptop. So your laptop contains your code, and then somewhere in the ether is your domain name. You had this piece of code in your laptop, and so after you had this, well, what do you do with it? You got to send it to what we call a host. A host just means what holds your piece of code. So your code goes here, it gets duplicated here, and it runs your code and produces this website, and it exposes your website, but it exposes it in some random name. It's like xyz.com. So once you get something up there, let's say you chose Wix, right? You get some random domain initially, and what you do is you configure the host so that you instead of this random domain, you put CUDI.ai. When somebody types CUDI.ai, they go to the site that you built in Wix.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Because and I think this is more for future videos, but like, yeah, I mean, it's just like anything else. I want a landing page, and then, you know, want to be able to prompt the user for a login password, they'll log in, and then it'll show basically, I mean, what you see pretty much in a lot of platforms, just a general dashboard. I've kind of reduced the tasks to basically five just kind of main actions in terms of, a loan and the journey from, first contact to when it's funding, or mainly, again, it's mainly kind of in the middle section, a little bit post introductions or post meeting. It's really at the time of when you're starting to collect documents and you're starting to intake information, and then pretty much all through the credit underwriting process through approval. And then once it's approved, there's a doc ordering process, which would automate, a bank's internal forms or a credit union's internal forms. But um, I think that'll be for the future. But for kind of day zero, day one, this is the kind of stuff I guess we'll definitely, because the way I look at it, the way I'm visualizing it is, you have something built out, you got an MVP, and I think kind of prior to the MVP, because you had talked about, you can probably have like a really, really like a low fidelity type product. It's good enough, and the cost of that infrastructure is going to be about 500 a month, 600 a month. And then once you start really building it out and really getting the dev behind it, you know, and getting it to kind of a solid product, or pretty much, a market grade ready to roll, it's going to be about 5,000 a month in terms of some general overhead. Well, it's just the infrastructure that doesn't count for other overhead, but
From your point of view, you're on the left side here, which is,
yeah,
your laptop, your code, and then you obviously want to use an LLM to produce that code, right? And that's why we talked about having Claude Code or even ChatGPT. Claude Code is from Anthropic, Codex is from OpenAI.
And so, and kind of looking at this diagram, you have the laptop, you have the code. When you say website, which you have down below in LLM, you have Claude Code, Codex, or Cursor.ai.
Cursor is also used to produce your code
Right. Okay. That's right.
and to edit it. You could use this in tandem. You could use both in tandem.
Do you
Uh,
need to? If someone's starting out, I mean,
Starting out, you don't you need to what you need is really the LLM. That's what you need, which produces the code. Now, if you want to actually read the code and mess around with it, you need an editor.
I see the flow now. Yeah. So you use those two. That'll get you your code. And then where does GitHub kind of fit into all this?
The architecture that we were talking about during lunch was this. Let's say you have a different host here that has that needs your code. What happens is that, and we don't have the browser, but
Oh,
this is a different path. You send your code to GitHub. One of the reasons why you want GitHub is because if you have multiple people working on your product, they're obviously not gonna share your laptop. They have to share code somehow, so they need to put it in GitHub. So like my
oh,
laptop,
well, then I'm going to do the GitHub route off the bat. Then that's
and then from GitHub, there are ways to that it can automatically send your code to the host, which runs your code, So CUDI AI is here. This
yeah,
is this here was what we were talking about during lunch. Why they mentioned GitHub.
gotcha. But this is good. I mean, just kind of like as of right now, yeah, takeaways is yeah, just created a GitHub account and then yeah, maybe in a future video kind of start diving into the, based on what you're showing here in the laptop square at the bottom with LLM with the different Claude code, Codex, or Cursor.ai for the future. But no, this is super helpful. I mean, hope my goal too with this, it's like you kind of start off as a non-technical person, and then by the end of it, I'll have some more, develop some skill sets and have a little bit more in my arsenal. Because I think for me, when it's time to go pitch out to investors, especially if you're talking to VCs and if they're technical, it's imperative that I can explain all this in detail, succinctly.
If you were going to take a crack at one thing and only one thing in the next couple of weeks, would it be the marketing side or the actual CUDI application?
Short answer, marketing side, yeah, and that's what I'm currently working on is basically kind of a more or less a sales deck, and then I'll probably modify it when it's time to go out for funding. But probably more on the marketing side. I think the goal is if you get a couple folks as design partners, whether it be a credit union or a small bank, you get them on board, you get them behind the idea. Not that I don't have conviction for it, but it's a lot helpful to know if you got a couple design partners that's willing to kind of fund some of this or partner in terms of the capital investment. So short answer is marketing side. I think the goal right now is to get out, and I have a couple people in mind, and they're just a phone call away. I think I just need to perfect the sales deck first, get some marketing going, go out, kind of field interest. But then the other thing too, as far as running a demo, that's why I only gave you a short answer. But a long answer would be kind of both because I like the idea of okay, it's great to have a sales deck. You have this idea. Okay, you get a couple of design partners. I almost kind of want to have some kind of MVP or something to actually demo concurrent with going out and pitching as well.
If you are going the marketing route, then don't worry about anything else other than this box right here. This is your box. This is the green box. This is the thing you focus on.
Got it. So that actually, you can have them kind of log in actually and go in. And here's the website. Yeah, kind of on the website, you kind of have some key points that, kind of distill basically the sales deck into the one landing page or welcome page or what have you. Talk about what it does. And then yeah, I mean, and the other thing too is like, and what's great about AI is you can probably create demo for the demo, if that makes any sense. Like if I don't have an MVP or actually just something physically to demo, have something which includes what you're highlighting, which is, hey, get the Wix account going, get your web host.
What I would suggest is, like, don't, like, decide on one thing, Wix, Squarespace, Replit. Just
Mm.
try a few of them, see which one you like and go with that. And then when you're serious about building the MVP, Replit can help you, Base 44 can help you. We y then you're concerned about this bottom layer here, having a GitHub account, have an actual host, multiple people working on your GitHub account. You're talking about a database. That's when you start talking about these things, these boxes here.
Got it. Is when you're saying, hey, we have some partners that are interested in this. They would use it. They would want to use it. They'd be ready to go in terms of if we put a contract in front of them. That's when they got the green light for.
Yeah, I mean, that's when you, the founder, goes ham on the yellow, I mean, the orange here, and then in here, because this is all, like, MVP stuff. That's how you build MVP.
Yeah.
You learn LLMs, how to code with it, you learn Cursor. You start building out the code for your actual app, start pushing that code to GitHub, and GitHub will put it in a host, connected a database, all that good stuff, and that presents an actual application to your client that says, "Hey, log into this, it'll do some magical stuff for you."
No, good stuff. You know what we haven't done is we haven't technically you haven't done your intro. You haven't gave your background. I'm gonna put the spotlight's going to you, buddy.
Alright, so my introduction would be, I have a computer science degree, been in the industry for a couple of decades. The vast majority of those, time in industry has been in startups. I've been a co-founder. I've had 2 startups where I was a person in the key roles for 2 acquisitions. So 2 acquisitions, co-founder and startup. Right now, what I'm doing is I specialize in artificial intelligence. My job right now is to look at every person's workflow and every person's job and every person's role and determine how I can 10x their productivity by leveraging AI.
And tell folks like what do you like to do for fun?
I like to play, tennis with Joseph. That's
Yeah.
one thing.
Yeah, right.
So, I can see, like, these, like, 4 or 5 guys trying to starting to challenge us now, when they find out we play tennis.
Hey,
Um,
right here in Central Valley. I mean, come find us. We'll play. That's how we
uh,
met.
what I
Yeah.
enjoy more than tennis would be, like, going to cafes and lunches and talking shop. I love talking business.
I know you kind of mentioned about doing a podcast and everything, and that our we'll keep it a secret. Our secret lunch spot that we go to, it's open to the public, and there's a in-house bistro. It's actually not a restaurant per se, but as you know, they have that. I guess call it a what would you call that room? Kind of the game room.
Yeah, the game room, and that's actually what's very
It's
interesting to me. That would be, like, good homework for us, Joseph, which is, like, I like these, like, online meetings, but I think what would really set this off is, like, regular podcast meetings in person.
yeah, yeah, and kind of in a podcast setting, and you know, have have guests, and the idea is kind of promote your channel and kind of promote Cuddy, the developments, and you know, anybody who's interested in, I guess, watching, kind of a startup go from zero to hopefully the moon and back. Um, and kind of see how other people are doing it, especially with, non-technical people like me who are figuring out ways to actually do it without having the need for a technical background.